Hi, my name is Sarah Schwanner. I'm a dietetic intern at Dominican University Head Start Nutrition Services. Today we're going to be making one of my favorite kind of recipes, which is a pasta primavera. This recipe is super easy to make and is full of so many different colors. Today we're going to be focusing on getting kids involved in the kitchen, incorporating vegetables, and some basic safety practices. So for this recipe, we will need a bell pepper. I have a yellow one, but any color is fine. A large tomato or two smaller ones, 1 cup of asparagus, 1 cup of sugar snap peas, and 1 cup of carrots, 6 tablespoons of Parmesan, 2 tablespoons of margarine, 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. 1 can of Great Northern beans or any other type of white bean will do also. And then 2 cups of whole grain pasta. I have rotini, but any type of whole grain pasta is okay. So before we start cooking, we want to make sure our hands are washed and our vegetables are washed as well. And if you have long hair like I do, you want to make sure it's pulled back to keep it from getting into our food. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do is go ahead and cook your pasta per the box instructions, which I have already done. And then you're going to start cutting your vegetables. So I have already cut the asparagus, the carrots, and the sugar snap peas. With the carrots, you can either use baby carrots or regular sized carrots. Doesn't matter, whatever you have around. I already had baby carrots, so that's why I used them. And then you're just going to go ahead and slice them up. And the sugar snap peas, you just need to make sure they're washed. You don't need to cut those. So first we're going to go over some basic knife safety. So when you're holding a knife, you want to make sure you have a good grip of it so that way you don't accidentally cut yourself. So what you want to do is kind of have a grip between your thumb and your pointer finger, kind of like this. So the thumb on the side and the pointer finger on the other side, because this gives you a really good grip and you're less likely to slip. What you don't want to do is have your hand all the way down here, because there's way less control of where the knife is going and you're more likely to cut yourself, which we clearly do not want to happen. So we're going to go over how to cut the bell pepper and the tomato. So first with the bell pepper, what we're going to do, we're going to cut about a 1/2 inch off the top, off the bottom, so we're getting those spots, and then we're going to go ahead and cut the seeds out, and then we're going to cut it into rings. So then we're going to have the rings, and then we're going to cut it like a T, so that way we can have smaller pieces for the pasta. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So one of the reasons why we want to make sure we're getting a variety of vegetables is because different colored vegetables have different nutrients. Some of the nutrients that vegetables are highest in are vitamin C, vitamin A, folates, potassium, and fiber. So vitamin C is great because it is good for our immune system, and it is also great for our skin. Vitamin A, we want to make sure we're getting because it is good for our eyes. Alright, and then see you have a ring like this. Folate, we want to make sure we're getting enough of because it is important for blood health and also brain development in babies. And then potassium is important because it helps us maintain our blood pressure. And then fiber is important because it helps prevent constipation by keeping our digestive system regular. All right, once we have our slices, we're going to go ahead and cut it. All right, so you should have pieces that are about this big once you're done doing that. And then we're going to go ahead and put them in a bowl. And then with our tomato, we're going to cut it kind of similarly. So we're going to cut the top, we're going to cut a small piece off the bottom, and then we're going to slice it into tomato slices. But obviously we don't want super big pieces, so then we're going to cut it twice one way and once the other. So we'll go ahead and do that. Another really good reason why we want to use multiple colored vegetables in this recipe is that it's a great way to get kids involved. So when you're cutting the vegetables, maybe have your child name the different colors. So we got red, yellow, green, orange, and naming the fruits and vegetables. They're learning this in school likely, so it's a great way to practice this at home. All right, so we're just cutting this in slices. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and cut it the long ways like we talked about. This still has a little bit of the stem in the middle, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. If that happens, don't worry about it, just go ahead and cut the stem off. Alright, so we're going to go ahead, I'm going to split this in half just because tomatoes are really squishy. Alright. So we're going to go ahead and cut twice one way and once the other way. Kind of use your best judgment. If you think it needs more cuts, you can go ahead and do that. I might go ahead and give it just one more cut right here down the middle. All right, going to put that half into our container. So the pieces of this tomato are about this big, so not as small as a diced tomato, but still pretty small. Okay, and then with this one, since that one is really big, I'm gonna do twice each way. That should be better for this one. All right, and tomatoes are a very messy vegetable to cut, so if it gets messy, that's all right. As long as you got it cut, that's all that matters. All right, so we're going to go ahead and set that to the side. The next thing we're going to do is combine it all in the skillet, so we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn our heat on to medium and then add our vegetable oil. We want to let the vegetable oil heat up for about a minute, and we also want to make sure the vegetable oil is covering the entire pan, so go ahead and roll it around a bit until it's covering most of the pan. Next, we're going to go ahead and add the asparagus, the carrots, the snap peas, and the bell pepper. These vegetables are harder than the tomatoes, so that's why we add them first, and you're going to cook them until they're tender, so for about 8 minutes, making sure you're mixing them often so they don't get burned. Having kids help in the kitchen is a great way to get them interested in cooking, and they are more likely to try new foods when they are involved in the prepping. Besides naming the color and types of fruits and vegetables, there are other ways kids can get involved in the specific recipe depending on their age. 2-year-olds can wipe tabletops, wash fruits and veggies. 3-year-olds can mix and pour ingredients and put things in the trash. 4-year-olds can set the table, and 5- and 6-year-olds can help with measuring ingredients. Every kid is in a different stage of development, so if they are not able to do these things listed for their age, that is perfectly normal and nothing to worry about. Now we're going to add the tomato and the beans, and we're going to sauté this for 2 minutes, making sure we're mixing often. Beans, such as these Great Northern beans, are a legume, and incorporating them into meals is a great way to add fiber and protein to our meals. Beans are a plant-based form of protein, meaning that they do not come from animals. Beans are also packed with many vitamins and minerals, similar to the other ingredients in this recipe. After the 2 minutes, we're going to add the pasta to the skillet as well as the margarine, and we're going to mix it around until the pasta and margarine is evenly distributed and the margarine has completely melted. It is important and a healthy choice to choose whole grains over non-whole grains whenever possible, because whole grains have a lot of vitamins and minerals and they have more fiber than their non-whole grain counterparts. So if we can choose whole grain pasta over white pasta, that is a great choice to make. Last but not least, we're going to add the Parmesan, the pepper, and the garlic powder to the pan, and we're going to mix it until it is evenly distributed throughout the entire thing, and then we're going to let it cook for about another minute before it's ready. This pasta primavera is a delicious way to incorporate a variety of colorful veggies and whole grains into our own and our kids' diet. As we discussed, there are many ways to involve our children in the kitchen and to get them excited about different foods and cooking. This recipe can be made with all sorts of veggies, so feel free to try your favorites next time. Once everything is evenly dispersed and heated, it is ready to be served. This recipe makes 6 servings, and if you have less than 6 people in your household, pasta is a great leftover that is easily reheated and can be used in the upcoming days for a meal. Thanks for cooking with me.